Hey, how's everybody doing? All right, so I'm getting a little bit of a late start today, doing our calendar stuff. So we're gonna get going. All right, we have a lot of dinosaur stuff, so I'm gonna kind of go pretty quick through some of um, our sounds and blends and things like that today. All right, so let's get moving here. All right, so we're gonna put on number 6 on our calendar. Here we go. We go up. It is Wednesday, May 6th, 2020. The season is spring. The weather outside the window is sunny and warm. All right. It is a little windy out here where I live, so it is sunny and warm today. Today, we said was Wednesday. We would have gym today. Yesterday was Tuesday. We would have music, and tomorrow will be Thursday, and we have art and guidance. All right, so make sure that we stop and sing the days of the week, and then stop and do the months. Menu today, it is after lunchtime right now. It is about 12:15 right now. I already ate lunch. I had a ham sandwich, which was really good. And you guys are going to probably think this is gross, but it was really good. So I had ham and cheese on it with mayo and ketchup and pickles. And I even put a few chips, barbecue chips in there to make it nice and crunchy. It's really good. You got to try it. I know you're grossing out. Don't gross out. Or you're at home. Don't go home. You're at home. Try it. It's really good. Put some chips on a sandwich. So good. Okay. I think McKinley, I think you did that once at school or something. Somebody did. It was really good. All right. Days. Yesterday we had 166. We're going to change that to 167, which also means that not 14 days, but now 13 days left. All right. On our countdown to summer, we did letter L yesterday, where you had to do something with ladybugs. So you had to find ladybugs, make a ladybug, draw a ladybug, whatever you had to do. Today we're doing M, and M is so great for this week because it's make a Mother's Day thing. It says make a craft for Mother's Day. Well, I showed you some yesterday. You can do all kinds of stuff. That is perfect because Mother's Day is this Sunday. All right, so hopefully you're making something for your mothers. All right. Make sure that you can count. So if you can count to 167, do that. All righty, here we go. We're going to do some math real quick. Now, I did find some more math things that if you would like to have some math, let me see if I can find the page. There it is. There we go. All right, so this is some graphing again. This is some different graphing, so if you want some of this, just let me know. I can send it to you. This is, we got to count how many insects or fish or whatever things are up here at the top, and then we color the number of squares for how many. And we did a bunch of those before. All right. Then this one, this is answer the questions about that graph. So remember, when we talked about graphs, we can use a graph to help answer questions. So sometimes people have just a graph that they give people that has certain things on it, and you can use that graph to answer questions. So this one, we can answer the questions. It says a bee, a fish, an ant, or a ladybug has the most. So which one had the most? You could circle the right one or color it. Which one has the least? Ladybugs has more than bees or fish. Which one does it have more than? Bees has less than ladybugs or ants. Which one? And then down here, how many ants do you need to equal the fish? All right, and this one was a good one because if we go back, if we colored the fish and wherever those went, and then what was the other one? Ants. And if we colored the ants, so if one only went to 3 and one went to the top, how many of these would you need to color to get there? That would be that's how we would figure out our answer with a graph. So our graph actually made it a little bit easier to find the answer. Okay, so then we go back and we would circle the right number. And then we have another one that has fruit on it, and we color, right? You count how many of each one, color the squares. And then this one has a question and answer thing just like the other one. But this one has an extra one at the bottom. It says circle the two that show an equal amount. And equal means the same. So remember, when we have equal, it means the same. All right. And then we can go to the next one. This is very much the same thing. We have bees and spiders and caterpillars and dragonflies and things. Okay, where'd my mouse go? There it is. Keeps going away on me. And then we have the same kind of questions. And then one last thing has summer stuff. And this, the graph is switched to the other side here. So over here's the pictures and here's the graph. And then it also has the same questions on the back. All right, so if you want something like that, you can just let me know and I can send that to you for graphing. All right, let's go to our sight words real quick. Our new one was saw, saw, and then this one was saw also. Remember, this is just capital and this is lowercase. Same word, just with a capital S or a lowercase s. All right, let's go through some of our words here quick. See if you can name them before I say it. Ready? Am, where, an, can, was, we, do, what, do, what, with, for, with, there, go, to, for, there, go. Good job. All right. Let's see. Verbs, let's go through verbs real quick. Remember, verbs are action words. Action words, okay? So if I was doing this, what was I doing? Running, right? If I do this, right? If I do this, am I fishing? Yeah. Okay. If I do this, what's that? Sneezing, right? Something I can do. Okay. What if I do this? Yep. Can I get a pizza? Yeah. Extra pineapple and pepperonis? What was I doing? I was calling someone, right? Calling. Okay. If I do this, I am writing. Very good. All right. So remember, things you can do are verbs. Alrighty. Okay, now we're going to go right into dinosaurs. Okay, so let's review again real quick. And a carnivore is a dinosaur that eats meat. Whoops. A herbivore is an animal that eats only plants. An omnivore is something that eats both plants and meat, like people. We talked about what happened to them. We think that scientists mostly think that there might have been a big meteor that came down, hit the earth, made a big crater into the earth, made all the volcanoes explode, made it earthquakes all over the place, so much dust that it blocked out the sun, and then all the dinosaurs died and all that was left were their skeletons. Okay, and then their skeletons turned into fossils, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so what exactly is a fossil? I don't know. Okay, so we're going to find out what a fossil is. Okay, we also know that sometimes fossils can be footprints, not just their skeleton, right, over here, or a leaf can be a skeleton or a fossil, but footprints can be fossils. Okay, so let's talk about that for a little bit. All right, have you ever gone outside after it was rainy for a bunch, and you know when like a car will drive through the mud and it leaves a track in the mud, or if you even put your foot in the mud, you can make a footprint. And then if you let that alone and a few days later you come back and that mud is now hard, right? It's hard dirt now, right? Well, that is kind of like how a fossil is made. All right, that mud turned into something hard because it dried. All right, so we're going to talk about some fossils. And the first thing we're going to talk about with fossils is we're going to talk about this humongous scientist word called a paleontologist. All right, so that's huge. Paleontologist. Now, paleontologist is a special scientist that studies fossils. Yeah, and if you can see that, I'll hold it up here so you can see. You can see that paleontologist, she has a microscope. She has like a special tool she's using on that big rock, okay? Paleontologists, because they don't have a bunch of fossils that they know what it looks like, right? And we're going to read in our story in our book here. So I'm actually going to wait. So let's wait on that part. But they don't know what the fossil is really supposed to look like, okay? Now, some fossils can be anything. They can be dinosaur eggs. So if you look at this one, this is fossilized dinosaur eggs. They look like rocks, but they're dinosaur eggs. Okay? And then these are some tools that paleontologists use, and we'll talk about those here after a bit. And then you can also find skulls, bones of dinosaurs or fossils. Okay? So let's go and let's talk about our book that we have today. Now, it's a big book. All right? So it's this big old book. All right, so I'll have to hold it. I don't know, I'll have to hold it right here, I guess. All right, so it says fossils. All right, now this is a fossil right here. What do you think that fossil could be? Maybe a lizard like this one? Maybe. All right, so let's read this book about fossils. It's by Claire Llewellyn. Claire Llewellyn. All right, so let's read about fossils. All right, here we go. It's big, isn't it? It says fossils. Fossils are the remains or marks of living things that are usually found in rock and stone. Fossils are important because they tell us the story of things that lived on Earth a long time ago. All right, so here's two kids that they found a fossil, and this is what it looks like right here. And it says this fossil is an amnionite. Amnionites were sea creatures that lived millions of years ago. Let's read this next part over here. It says, what things become fossils? Animals and plants become fossils. So do nests, eggs, footprints, and even animal droppings. Now, do you know what animal droppings are? Animal droppings are animal poop. Gross. Yeah. Okay, but those can turn into fossils. All right, so this is a rabbit fossil right here. You can see that. This is a fossil of leaves right here. This down here is dinosaur eggs and dinosaur footprint. It says these are the fossils of things that lived once on Earth. Some have now disappeared. All right, so let's look at this. How are fossils formed? I got to turn here. Okay. All right. Fossils are made from the hard parts of plants and animals, such as bark, seed cases, bones, and teeth. These parts do not easily rot away after plants and animals die. Fossils take millions of years to form. All right, now it says turning to stone. Let's look at an example. A starfish dies. The soft parts of its body rot away. The hard parts are covered by mud down here. After millions of years, the starfish is deep in the ground and the mud around it is crushed by the land on top and turned into stone. So are the remains of the starfish. Okay, so right here. Millions of years later, the stone gets worn away and the starfish fossil can be seen. Did you know that the oldest fossil ever found are 3,500 million years old? Wow. All right, so let's think about this. Okay, so we have a starfish, or we have something. Let's just say we use this eraser. Okay, so this eraser is an animal that died. All right, so it's laying here on the ground. Let me put my book down. Maybe. Oh, for goodness sakes. All right. Here we go. It wouldn't stand up. I was trying to get it to stand up. All right, so say this animal dies. Okay, it dies on the ground. All right, and what happens is all this stuff rots away, and all that's left is bones and the hard parts, right? Well, then dirt gets blown on top, right? And then more dirt gets blown on top, and more dirt, and more dirt, and even more dirt. So after a bunch of time, look at all this dirt that's now on top, okay? And then it keeps getting higher and higher and higher, right? Okay, all that dirt pushing down on it smushes it, okay? Now, if you've ever been to the beach or you went to somewhere where there's lots of sand, you ever bury yourself in the sand, right? You bury yourself and it kind of pushes you down, right? It feels like a heavy blanket, okay? Well, think about that, but not just a little bit of dirt, but bunches of dirt. So much dirt that it's higher than your house, that much dirt, pushing down on you. And it's pushing down and it's pushing really hard, right? Well, that would squish this thing, okay? And it would, after it pushes so much, it makes it push down so much that it turns into rock. And it makes it really hard. And after millions of years, somebody might be digging somewhere, or the weather blows the dirt around, or the rain, and that bone is now seen again. Well, that's how a fossil is made, just like that. Okay? So let's read some more about fossils here. Let's go back to our book. All right. From the sea. The first creatures on Earth lived in the sea. Some sea creatures made good fossils because they had hard shells and hard bones. All right, so this first one over here, this is a horseshoe crab fossil, a trilobite fossil, and these two down here are fish fossils. Those are weird looking fish, aren't they? Yeah. Okay. Now this down here that this boy has, you know what this fossil is? Kind of looks like a tooth, doesn't it? Well, guess what? It is a tooth. It's a fossilized shark tooth. Some teeth are 5 inches long. Wow, that's crazy. All right, so plants. Plants can be fossils too, so let's read about that. At first, there were only living things in the sea, but slowly, over millions of years, plants began to grow on the land. Some of these plants have left fossils in the rock. So this right here, can you guys see that? That's actually a pine cone fossil. It got smushed, right? With all that ground pushing on top of it, smushed into a flat pancake, and then turned into a fossil. This over here is fern leaf, and this is a fern leaf. Okay, so both of those got smushed down and made a fossil. Okay. All right. Out of the water. Insects were some of the first animals to live on land. They fed on plants. Many of the insects were very big. Some dragonflies were even big as a bird. Whoa. And this is a dragonfly fossil. Let's look over here. Some animals, like frogs, crawled out of the sea and onto dry land. They fed on insects and plants. Sometimes these animals went back to the water to feed or lay their eggs. And this is a frog fossil. Now let's look at this down here. Look at that one. Now, if you've ever seen Jurassic Park, the very first Jurassic Park, you'll know what this is. All right, and that is an insect. That is a mosquito or a gnat that has fossilized inside the drop of sticky sap called amber. All right, now if you ever go on a pine tree or some kind of tree and you touch it and it's got like this sticky stuff on it, right? And it sticks and your fingers like all sticky and you have to use some, like wash your hands a whole bunch, right? It gets all sticky on you. Well, sometimes when dinosaurs were around, those insects, mosquitoes or something would bite a dinosaur and then go land on a tree. Well, it gets stuck in that sticky sap, and then more sap would come in and cover it all up. Well, when it was all covered up, it'd be inside that sticky sap, and then it would become a fossil inside, and they would call that amber. Okay, so that would be kind of what that would be called, that fossil. All right, so if you ever seen the very first Jurassic Park, that's what they use. They Now, I don't think this can't really happen. Okay, so it can't really happen, but they get the dinosaur blood out of that mosquito from in the movie, but that can't really happen. It'd be pretty cool if it did, though. All right, so then dinosaurs, okay, lived. All right, every fossil tells you something about an animal. Dinosaur footprints tell you how heavy the animal was, how fast it moved, whether it had claws, whether it lived alone or in a herd. Okay, and they can find that out because, well, maybe the footprint is pushed so far in the mud, or maybe it's so far apart from the next one. So they find one right here and then they find another one over there. Well, if it moved, you can see how big their feet moved apart. Okay, so all that stuff, and then there are a whole bunch, you know, that they live together in a group. So that's pretty cool. All right, now let's talk about this. Museums. You can see fossils in museums. Some people who work there are fossil hunters. They take trips to look for fossils in the oldest rocks and then take the fossils back to the museum. A dinosaur bone fossil is being carefully removed from the rock. So down here. Building a skeleton. At the museum, scientists put the fossilized bones together and build a skeleton. It is just like doing a jigsaw puzzle. You have to figure out where all the pieces go. These fossilized bones all fit together. Can you figure out what they make? Okay, what do you think this makes? Well, it says down here, it says it's a reptile called a plesiosaur. Awesome. Now, I don't know if you can see, but right here, there's a bunch of tiny little fossil pieces. It looks like a bunch of rocks. Well, how do they know where all these pieces go? Well, they don't. So they got to kind of guess and figure out, and what if one of the pieces is missing? What if a big piece, like if you're making a puzzle, you ever made a puzzle and one piece is missing and you're like, I just don't know how these pieces fit together because I'm missing this piece. Well, that's kind of what fossil hunters and paleontologists have to do. They just sometimes got to guess how things go together. And then they got to make their own, they got to make a fake piece that fits in there to go along. So it can be very hard, okay? Oh, and then what happens if they break one of the pieces? Can they just find another piece? No, they can't find another piece. So that's why they got to use those special tools. And we'll talk about some of those special tools here in a little bit. Making a model. Sometimes scientists make models of dinosaurs, but how do they know what they look like? When scientists find dinosaur fossils, they study them very carefully. They take photographs to show how each bone was laying on the ground. At the museum, they clean and repair the fossilized bones. Then they build the skeleton. They study it to figure out how it moved. The scientists add muscles to the bones. They cover the muscles with scaly skin. Scientists have to guess the color of the dinosaurs. Okay, so they don't really know if a dinosaur was gray or green or black or whatever color. They just have to guess. And then look at this. That looks like another giant tooth. It's not. Look, it says it's an iguanodon's thumb spike. Scientists first thought the spike was a horn on the animal's nose, but actually it was a big thumb spike. So on its thumb, it had a big, like, almost like a fingernail. All right, collecting fossils. You can be a fossil hunter too. Look carefully and you will find fossils in all sorts of places. At the beach, on a hill, in a rock, in a garden, on an old path, in a building, and even as lumps of coal. Why not make your own fossil collection? Okay, and then they got some tools. So they got safety glasses in case they break part of the rock. They got a chisel and a hammer. They got gloves on. They got a magnifying glass and a book about fossils. They got a paintbrush. I wonder what I have a paintbrush. And then they got newspaper and yarn. So let's talk about the tools. Why do you think that they would have a paintbrush? Well, here's the thing. If you're out in the dirt, right, and you're trying to get all this stuff away from the fossil, but you don't know, is this part of the fossil or is this part of a rock? what they'll do is they'll chip at it a little bit with a tiny hammer or a big hammer, and then they'll use the paintbrush to kind of sweep away the dirt and the dust, okay? Because they don't want to break the fossil. Remember, if they break the fossil, it's gone forever. They can't make a new one, okay? So they got to be careful, all right? And then they have a magnifying glass for the little pieces. They have newspaper to wrap it up to keep it safe. And then they have string to maybe probably tie it together, okay? All right, and that's it about the fossil parts. Now, let's talk about the tools a little bit. All right, so we saw this, and they have tools on here. So they have like a little hammer, they have a chisel, they have some paint brushes, they even have a toothbrush on there. Maybe they have a little broom. They even have a big measuring tape to see how long the bones were, or maybe once they get them out of the ground, they can measure around them and see how much they are, things like that. All right, so they have all kinds of things. And they even have little things that will measure, called a micrometer, that measures how wide or thick the pieces are. All right. Now, in the story we just read, we read that you can find fossils yourself. And guess what? You can, because me and Josie and Jackson, a few years ago, we have rocks around our house. So like we have landscaping, and you might have like mulch around your house, or maybe you have rocks. And if you have rocks, or maybe you have a driveway that has stones in it, you can go find fossils yourself. So what we did is we were just kind of moving rocks around, and I found some rocks that had fossils. So I don't know if you can see that very well. Okay, but this is a fossil. Okay, it's kind of round, and then it's got lines that go sideways on it. I'll hold it real close. Can you guys see that? So this is a fossil that we found in our rocks in our landscaping. And then we're looking some more, and we found another one. This one looks like it has a leaf printed on it. I don't know if you can see that very well. It's kind of that dark spot right here. Okay, I'm gonna hold that up close. Turn it. Kind of see it there. It wraps around the side of the rock there. All right, and then we found one more that looks like it has a shell smashed in it. Do you see that one right there? Look at that. It's like a shell smashed in it. So that was cool. So we found these in our landscaping. All right, so that was really cool. So maybe if you have rocks in your landscaping, or you have a pond or something with rocks around it or somewhere, or maybe if you just go to the park or go to the reservoir, maybe you can hunt around in the rocks and see if you can find some fossils. Okay, so those are the ones that we found. All right. So paleontologists are scientists that study fossils, right? All right. Now, have you ever seen a fossil? Now, I just showed you some, but have you ever seen any in real life? If you haven't, if you go to the Indianapolis Children's Museum, we went there with Josie and Jackson a few years ago when Jackson was really little. And they actually have a whole thing full of dinosaur stuff. And you can even walk up to a window where they have real paleontologists that are actually doing stuff with fossils right there in front of you. You can talk to them. It was really cool because they open this big giant window and it kind of goes down, and you can stand there and you can talk to them as they're cleaning off fossils. It was really awesome. Okay. All right. So I just told you where you could find some, and we talked about some of the tools that they use. All right. Talk about mine. Now I'm going to show you. If we were at school, we would do two very cool things. Okay. The first thing is, well, actually, we would do three cool things. Okay. The first thing that we would do is we would actually dig for fossils ourselves. It's really cool. So here's what you can do. If you want to do this at home, what you need is like a shoebox or some kind of container. You're going to put sand in it. All right. Now there's sand in this box here. I'm going to kind of bend this down so you guys can see. Okay. So you can see that there's sand in this. All right. And inside I have some paint brushes. All right. And I also have some bones. And I have a dinosaur skeleton. All right. And then there's all kinds of little other stuff that's in here too. All right. So I'm going to push this down here. I'm going to show you what we would do in school. Now, there's some other things in here. There's like noodles and stuff, but we would just pretend that those are bones. And there's little like bugs in here and stuff, and we would pretend that those are fossils too. All right. So I'm going to move some stuff around here, and I'm going to pause this and move some stuff, and I'll be right back so you guys can have a better view of what this looks like. So give me just a second. All right, so here's what this looks like. So we would use these paintbrushes, just like a regular paleontologist, and then we would slowly brush this away like this, okay, until we get the fossil out. So we're going to pretend that this dinosaur is a real fossil. Now, do you see how slow I'm going? We can't just rip this out of the ground, because in real life, this would be stuck in the dirt or the mud or in the rocks. So we have to slowly take this away, and we don't want to break anything. And we want to make sure that we get all the dirt and stuff off. So we got to be real careful when we do this. And this is exactly what a real paleontologist would do, see? And then you can see right here, we would actually find other fossils. So we would take this, and this is just a noodle. We pretend that's another fossil. And then maybe we might find another fossil as we're digging up that fossil, just like this one. And this is exactly what paleontologists do. So it would take a long time for them to dig this all out, right? Because they wouldn't, oh, there's that one. They wouldn't want to use big, equipment, like a big bulldozer or something, or a big backhoe or an excavator or something to dig all this stuff out, because they wouldn't want to break stuff. And if they dug right here, well, what if they tried to dig over here and then they broke a fossil over there? That wouldn't be good either. Okay, so that's what you can do. So if you have little dinosaurs or noodles or anything that you could stick in there, we have something over here. I know I just buried it right here. So if so look, I'm digging away, and now I don't know if you guys can see that. Oh, there it is. I just buried a little ladybug in there. So you can bury really anything. If you have little bugs or something, that's the kind of stuff that you can do. All right, so that can get kind of messy because it leaks out of the box here. All right, so that's one thing that we do. Give me just a second, I'll show you the other thing. This is really cool too. So we would, so I have a paper towel, and I have some toothpicks, and now I'm going to use some cookies. Okay? Just some chocolate chip cookies that I have. We're going to open these up. I'm going to show you how long. There we go. Didn't want to come out. All right. So we can do this just like we did with the fossils before. Now, when they dig fossils out, I told you it takes a long, long time, right? I got through them. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that this cookie is dirt, and all these little chocolate chips are fossils. All right. And the only thing that we can use is a toothpick. So if you have this stuff at home, you could try this at home. Now, what you want to do is you don't want to break the chocolate chip, because that's our fossil. Okay. Now you can break the dirt around it, which is the actual cookie part, but you got to be real careful as you kind of scrape away at it. Okay. So we got to scrape away around it. And you can see that it takes a while. It just doesn't pop right out. So we really got to scrape around it. And then boom. There, I got one fossil out. Right there. Okay. Now the thing is I did it too much and it broke it, really, because there's more in there. Okay. So you can try this at home. Just ask your mom and dad to get you some chocolate chip cookies, little Chips Ahoy or whatever. I don't know what these are. They're from Aldi's. And then you just kind of use a toothpick, and you got to go real slow, poking around at it. You're going to make a lot of crumbs, so make sure it's okay with your mom and dad. But we would do this in our classroom as a little snack. And then I would have some milk that we could drink with our cookies. So if I really poke at this, see if I can get this one all the way out. Oh, there it is. I got it. All right. So that's something for you to try at home. And you can see, I'm going to tilt you back up here so you can see me. Ooh, there I am. Look at me. Real close. All right. So that's something that you can try at home, is doing one of those cookie little tricks. Okay. And you can eat it when you're all done, which is a good snack. All right. Now I got one more thing to show you. You got to find my favorite. Here we go. All right. So I'm getting close again. Bending down just a little bit. Not too far. All right. So the last thing that we'll talk about is we were actually going to make a real, or not real fossil, but we're going to make a fossil. All right. And if you want to make this, here's the things that you need. You need 1 cup of salt. You need 3 cups of flour. You need some cold coffee. Now, you don't really need to have cold coffee, but you could have cold water. I think that will work too, but if you have coffee. Now, here's the thing that's tough to find is you need 2 cups of coffee grounds. So maybe if your mom or dad drinks coffee, they can save the coffee stuff for you. Or grandma or grandpa or somebody you know drinks coffee, they can save that for you. All right. So you need coffee grounds, and then you need 1/2 cup of sand. All right. And you're going to mix all that stuff together, and it's going to make like a dough, kind of like a Play-Doh. All right. And it's going to be kind of sticky. All right. So be careful. Make sure you have some help. All right. And then what you do is you take a chunk of it. It doesn't have to be real big, about as big as your fist. You're going to take a chunk of it, and you're going to put it on a plate. Okay. We always put it on a paper plate. And you're going to put it on there and kind of smush it down, not real flat, but just kind of smush it down to a thick pancake. And then you're going to take a dinosaur, if you have a dinosaur or something, and you're going to smush it down into it and make it a fossil. And it's going to look something like this. Can you guys see that? Look at that. All right. So we would bring dinosaurs to school, and we would make these fossils for centers one day at school. All right, so this is that dough, and I just smushed some dinosaur feet on it, and then when it dries, it's real hard, and it sticks to the plate. You can see it sticks to the plate, doesn't come off, and that's how we made a fossil. And you saw those yesterday, I think, when I showed you, or no, on Monday, when I showed you my website, mrkragerskindergarten.weebly.com. You can go on there and find the dinosaur pictures of some of the other classes. And that's what we made right there. All right. Now, if you have just little dinosaurs, this is another one I made. If you look at it, you can't really tell, but it's supposed to be a T-Rex. I took it and smushed it in there, and there's a T-Rex smushed in there. So if you have any kind of dinosaurs, you can smush them on there and then let it dry. It usually takes about 2 days to dry, okay, unless maybe you sit it in front of the sun or something like that. But that's what it takes. So remember, 1 cup of salt, 3 cups of flour, 1 cup of coffee or cold water. I think it's got to be cold. 2 cups of coffee grounds. Okay, 2 cups of coffee grounds and 1/2 cup of sand. All right, and you can make them. Now, I used to make a whole bunch because I'd get a bunch of coffee grounds from some of the teachers at school because there's a lot of coffee drinkers. And so we would get coffee grounds, and then I'd have a whole bunch. We make a whole bunch of them, and then our class and Mrs. Pullman's class would make them, and then we would have made them this year with Mrs. Rossman's class too. So see if you can make those. So those are kind of fun. All right. Okay. So that is what we would have been done today for dinosaurs. All right. Now we would have had some special stuff for centers. We would have had like some dinosaur mask stuff. I have dinosaur footprints that we would have stuck on the floor, all over the floor in our classroom. And we would have decorated our room with dinosaur pictures and things. So maybe you can find some dinosaur picture coloring pages you can color. Watch the dinosaur movies that we talked about. we would have done that this week, probably on Friday, to watch Dinosaurs movies and things like that. So see if you can find some kind of fun dinosaur stuff. Avery sent me some little shrinky dink things that she made that were dinosaurs. Those were really cool. So if you have any dinosaur stuff or you find any dinosaur stuff, send me that stuff. Let me see what things you're doing. All right. Okay. That's all we have for today. Make sure you get outside, get some sun today. It's going to be really sunny. I got to go out and mow the grass here later. And then I got to work some more on Josie and Jackson's playset today. Make sure today is countdown to summer. Today is letter M. Make sure you're making your Mother's Day crafts for Mother's Day. All righty. That will be it. I will see everybody later. Hopefully I'll have time today to read a new Junie B. Jones. We're going to read the next Junie B. Jones is going to be Junie B. Jones is going on a field trip. That was pretty cool. All right. So hopefully I'll have time later today to do that and I won't forget. All right. So everybody have a great afternoon and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.